My name is Jenna Miscavige. My uncle's the leader of Scientology, and I escaped when I was 22. Some of you guys thought I wasn't being nice to Leah in my video yesterday. I get that for some of you, the gut reaction is, you're on the same side, work together, Scientology is bad enough. But I didn't come to the decision to speak on this lightly. I started speaking out about Scientology in 2007, 6 years before Leah left Scientology, and at great personal risk. I wrote a New York Times best-selling book in 2013, long before the Aftermath show even existed. For years, I've watched those who were worshipped and in power in Scientology slowly become influential leaders in the ex-Scientology community. And I've kept quiet for the sake of the cause, although you can imagine how much of a red flag this would have been for me. Some of these ex-leaders went back to Scientology, some got paid for their silence, and some are paid for their silence with favors and a source of income. You may not know this, but I've known Mike Rinder my entire life. His son Ben was like a brother to me, and the Rinders shared an apartment with my parents for my entire childhood. My parents are the ones Mike ran to when he escaped Scientology. The truth is, in yesterday's video, I was trying to answer a simple question about whether or not I'd be working with Leah in the future, but I was holding back. In the last 2 years, a lot has been going on behind the scenes. It was discovered that Mike Rinder withheld thousands of documents for 16 years that exposed his involvement in covering up child SA, forced abortions, ops to separate families, and to ruin people's lives. All documents that could have been used in evidence for trials and Leah and Mike's show together to expose Scientology, for the media, and not least of all for the closure for the people who these documents were about, myself included. He let the look-back window for the California Child Victims Act, which extends the statute of limitation for child victims of SA, the window that he took credit for helping to open. He let this window lapse without letting anyone in our community know that this window had existed, including those who talked about child SA on his show. He publicly resorted to his old Scientology tactics and fabricated hurtful lies about the Danny Masterson victims, myself, and other people who I love and care about who were born and raised in Scientology because they questioned his authority. Leah supported him through all of this. And when I say she supported him, I mean she publicly told his victims who were upset about this, including me, quite literally, to go fuck themselves. And then she followed up by supporting multiple cyber bullies and stalkers who were actively slandering and destroying the mental health of participants in her show for 2 years straight after Leah made millions off of their stories. Among them was a person who spent a year straight attacking my appearance, my story, my children, and threatening to show up at my home. One of these stalkers was arrested last week for this exact behavior. She's willing to publicly follow people who are stalking and trolling vocal and effective anti-Scientology activists, while she blocks Streets LA, who's doing more than almost anyone right now to actively stop Scientology recruitment. I don't care how apologetic Mike was on her TV show. It means nothing if he can't apologize to his actual victims and make good on his mistakes. It was me, not Leah, standing next to Mike's son at 4 years old when we were told together that we wouldn't have family time anymore. It was my life that Mike tried to destroy 16 years later when he tried with everything he had to separate me from my parents. And 2 years later, my husband. And it was my marriage that got destroyed by the stalking and harassing that Mike orchestrated after I left Scientology. If he'd had his way, I wouldn't even have my children. Leah doesn't have the power or authority to forgive him for that, or to tell other people that they have to. Ex-leaders come out of Scientology and think they're heroes just for leaving. And Leah goes along with this because it's good for ratings and public attention, but it's far from the reality. What's the difference between Scientology and Mike Rinder from my perspective? There is no difference. Same with my Aunt Shelley Miscavige. Mike Rinder was Scientology to me and many others. When I talk about the bad things that happened to me, they were done by Mike Rinder and other Scientology executives, those who have left and those who are still in. How many of these past executives do you think have wasted a second of their lives on an apology to me or anyone else? The fact that he decided to publicly persecute someone who I love very much as his last act before he died, believing there was a universe in which he had any moral high ground, shows me that he was the same person he always was. It was just in his best interest to hide it better. This isn't about some trauma Olympics between who had it worse in Scientology, me or Leah. It's about what people do with power in and out of Scientology. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Leah has done good work exposing Scientology, and I am grateful for that.